Hello there. Welcome to the Far Out, Johnny.
What a way to start. Hey, guys.
Yeah, you go. You go.
Welcome to the TTP Field Manual. My name is Johnny, and coughing his guts up in the corner is Joshy. How you doing?
It's the guy who's meant to be talking the most today. It's like when you go to drive your car, but the handbrake hasn't been released.
How are you, my brother?
Good, my brother. How are you?
Oh, getting on. I'm recovering from some heat stroke, but we're fine. We're here.
My God. I'm in my air-conditioned, we'll say it's a recording studio, and I'm already just sweating. It's 21 degrees in my room, but that humidity is penetrating.
Yeah, we're expecting some storms in the next couple of days, so we'll see if that helps drive down the temps.
I was, we'll say, researching the podcast at like 1 or 2 in the morning the other night, and it was just so loud all of a sudden. And I was like, are my headphones playing up? And I just like took my headphones off, and it was just barking down rain, but for like 2 minutes, and then it stopped. I'm like, no, no more heat.
And then it ended.
Keep the rain. Oh, no, but you're good, man. You're good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm here.
Brilliant. Are you excited for story time with Joshy today?
Oh, I sure am. Something a little less structured. I do like a little bit of lore every now and then.
Hey, everyone loves a good story. And to be honest, I'm really glad to not sit here talking about data sheets for 3 hours for once. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy it. But we just did like 3 of them in a row.
Yep.
Hope you're enjoying it. Welcome to all the new listeners. All right.
What do you got for us today?
So we're going to talk about the Catan. What do you know about Catan, Johnny?
They're old gods trapped in little shards now by the Necrons.
Yep, that's a good summary of them. We're going to be talking about exactly that. We're going to be talking about the Catan and sort of how they came about, how they engaged with the Necrons, what happened to them following that unity pact they made. Talk a little bit about their powers. We'll then spend time talking about the various Catan that do exist. And yeah, that'll pretty much be our episode today, is talking about the gods.
Well, some of the gods.
Well, the star gods, if you will.
The competition for the other gods.
I would say that the modern gods of the 40k setting do not hold a candle to these creatures.
All right.
So in the modern setting, we got chaos gods, the echoes of a really tattered warp, which is essentially a spiritual plane. We've got faith-based, deities such as the Emperor, Gork and Mork. We have like liminal versions of the Eldari pantheon, such as Kegarak and Ennead, Cain. But before all of that was the Catan. And they were not always, these freakishly powerful bunch of entities. They more or less were an universal presence. So when the Big Bang happened, and all the stardust and chemicals and electromagnetic energies all just exploded out into reality. The energy was so dense and supercharged and volatile that the very first forms of sentience already began to occur because of just how insane like physics and chemistry and all that was at the time. And that was the first sort of Catan life forms, but they were amorphous, they were energy beings, they weren't humanoids, they weren't even necessarily conscious, but they were there nonetheless like a shark in the water, just traveling along electromagnetic currents, gorging themselves on suns or stars, if you will, and were just sort of in the background doing things like out of instinct.
Yeah, they just kind of existed out there, right?
It's pretty terrifying to think about, though, isn't it? But then society started to occur, or civilizations began to emerge across the universe or the galaxy. we now take our camera to the Necrontyr. And Johnny, do you know much about the Necrontyr once upon a time before they were the Necrons?
I sure do, but that would defeat the purpose of an episode, wouldn't it?
Well, we're going to have a little bit of explanation about the Necrontyr and their role in all of this.
All right.
So the Necrontyr, early spacefaring civilization, 60 million years before 40k as we know it.
Yeah.
They were born upon a planet with a really radioactive star system. Their lives were crap, hellish, cancers, a lot of just caste systems, hierarchies, nobilities. But slowly, yet surely, they would overcome their limitations as a species and would begin spacefaring. They would come across the Old Ones, a bunch of Seraphon from Age of Sigmar, like Slann. And you can quote me on that.
Oh, all right. I will.
I'm pretty positive it's meant to be the same thing. But they go up to these Old Ones who are extremely powerful individuals, very psychically active individuals. And the Necrontyr were like, excuse us, we can't help but notice that you're really powerful and, top of the food chain. You want not, need not. Can you help us out? Our kids die before they're adults. Our adults die by their 30s. Our nobles are being carried around in wheelbarrows sometimes. Can you help us deal with this? And the Old Ones sort of realized they were not well-intentioned species. There was a lot of infighting, a lot of, backstabbing, a lot of just power grabby, poor behavior. So they're like, nah, sorry, mates. Good luck though. And the Necrontyr were pissed. They fought.
A dick move.
It was really
You have omniscient power. Someone comes up and is talking, and you're just like, should be all right.
This was the beginning of the biggest fuck around and find out moment in Warhammer history, because the Necrontyr were pissed.
Yeah, they were.
They decided to go to war over this. Didn't quite go well for them though. And they had to go back to their home star systems, just seething with hatred. How dare they first deny us and then beat us up when we tried to fight them over it. How dare they? And
how dare they?
At this stage, the perspectives differ on whether the Necrontyr just happened to observe this astrological phenomena gorging on their home star system, or if you were to go by the Eldari Book of the Mournful Night, which is a war in heaven recount, if you will, in mythological tale, very Greek myth coded. The Book of the Mournful Night, which is kept in the Black Library, insinuates that the Necrontyr were just so mad that they began to tap into this sort of spiritual energy that all sentient creatures in this universe have, and essentially lured the essence of a Khitan to their system for a little bit of hey, we have this delicious metaphysical energy that you could have. Oh yeah, I've never had one of those before kind of vibes.
Yep.
What do you think happens next?
They sell their souls to an ancient demon, to an ancient god, and pay the price.
Yeah, what have I told you though? There's a little bit of build up to such events. So the Necrontyr observe this star creature out in the void, floating about, and they thought, what if we could speak to that thing? And through a structure that is called an incorporeal starlight bridge. Now, I don't know much about how it functions or how it was built, but this construct allowed this wayward energy to essentially get sucked through a funnel and then pop out as a living metal body. Living metal. It's all happening already.
Yep.
Now, do you remember in Avengers 1 when they have the Tesseract and they flip it on for the first time and Loki comes out the portal and just starts murking goons?
Yep.
Essentially that happens. So the Khitan that comes out takes a moment to feel out its new physical form, And when when you're gorging on suns, it's kind of like, oh, whatever. It's not an emotional meal. It's just sustenance. You're eating nutrient paste,
It's chicken and rice.
It's chicken and rice, but not made in Singapore. It's just whatever. But all of a sudden, it's able to sense awe. It's able to sense fear. It's able to sense emotions. And that's something it's never had before. And so the C'tan begins to slaughter the various Necrontyr that helped bring it into this physical existence. And so powerful was it that the Necrontyr had no choice but to basically placate the being, say, hold on. Like, don't kill us. Yeah? Like, you can kill things, that's okay, but just not us. What if we helped you to feed on other species? You just leave us alone. And the C'tan was like, yeah, okay, I guess. And this was not a very wise decision at any part of this. The Necrontyr really done goofed themselves, because this C'tan that they brought in, want to guess which one it was?
The Deceiver?
Oh, the Deceiver does come a bit later. Would you like to hazard another guess?
Nah, go for it.
So the very first C'tan that they bring into a physical shell that already begins to, pluck the strings of this very violent, almost genocidal nature was none other than Yggra'nya the Nightbringer.
All right. I was going to say, don't give me a name. That's not going to help me right now.
A name and a title. Yggra'nya the Nightbringer.
Nice. I like this guy.
Nice.
His new model is sick.
Very, very cool indeed. I was shook when I saw that release. Now, with this somewhat pact formed, the Nightbringer was there, but one by one, the Necrontyr were like, cool, well, what if we help this whole race of star gods to help us be powerful? And so one by one, they start to attract other C'tan and bring them through their bridge and give them physical forms. What was happening was essentially like Greek myth. You'd have the various gods, like think Ares, Aphrodite, Athena, and little almost cabals of, a god and their patrons began to exist all across the Necrontyr dynasties, just worshipping God, getting powers from them, that kind of thing. And yes, at this sort of stage, there was the entity known as the Deceiver, Mephet-Ran. But at the time, Mephet-Ran was known actually as the Messenger.
Ah, okay. That I was unaware of.
So the Messenger was, once again, a deception of his, or once again, it was like the first great deception.
Yeah.
But the other C'tan weren't particularly trusting of Mephet-Ran anyway. But at this stage, not a lot of family politics had occurred between the C'tan because they haven't been physical for so long. And Mephet-Ran knew that he wasn't very strong. He wasn't very physically potent, but he was really good at charming people, beguiling them, bending people's wills, And Mephet-Ran decided, hey, what if we try and bring all of these disparate pieces of this empire together? We need unity. We also need immortality to have any hope to bring these sickly goons to go fight, other entities. And so Mephet-Ran began to sort of sow these seeds of, hey, it's come to my attention that you guys went to war with the old ones, but you lost. Hey, would you look at that? So did we. We tried to fight them and we also lost. Doesn't that just suck?
Imagine.
He rused them, Johnny. That never happened.
Demonstrate.
And so he decides to bring this sort of ultimatum. He's like, look, we can work together. C'tan, Necrontyr, we can do it. But we want to gift you something to help you out. Immortality, right? Now, as a quick aside, our book club for the month of November, Infinite and the Divine. Have you read it yet?
No, I have not read it yet.
Have you begun it yet?
Not yet. I need to finish my current book before I can pick up one.
All right. Well, there's a couple of plot points here in the beginning that are relevant to the plot of the Infinite and the Divine. I can skip it and we can come back around.
It's fine.
Okay, so At this sort of stage, the various nobility of the Necrontyr, like Zarek, the Silent King, and his Triarch, were all trying to debate, should we do it? Like, what could we stand to lose, And the debates, went on for the next year with the court's key astrologer, Orichan the Diviner, being like, I don't know about this. It doesn't seem quite right. These guys came from the frickin' void of reality. Maybe we shouldn't. But the nobility were like, nah, I appreciate that, mate, but we need this power. We need to go take this fight to the old ones. There's no other logical choice here. And within Necron society, rebels started to form, rebel cells, because there was a lot of, awareness in the society that something big was happening, that the Catan star gods were going to bring about a really negative change for the species one way or another, whatever it would be. And so the next couple of years, it was almost like a little civil war with a figurehead known as Nephref. Nephref the Untouched, a individual that did not get sick from all the star cancers and radiations and all that such. He was this figurehead that drew all the rebels to this banner of hey, let's not do what the Catan want. However, Nephref was also a deception.
Oh my god, of course he was.
Nephref was a cast-off Shard of the Deceiver who actually was swapped out with the real Nephref, who was a noble, at birth. And then as all the rebels gathered for one big push, the trap was sprung. Nephref, the rebels, Orichan's rebels, Orichan were all just sort of abducted. And except for Orichan, who did manage to escape, were the first ones to be put into the biotransference furnaces.
Man, the whole thing with biotransference is so terrible to see. Every time I hear descriptions about that whole experience and that moment in time, it's kind of terrifying.
It's awful. Just huge furnaces that tear away the physical material of a person, reformatting it into a living metal tomb for a conscious mind that's pretty much not there anymore, except for fleeting vibes of emotion and inflection, with only the nobility maintaining any sense of personality and higher intellect. But the nobles, after the rebels, were the second of the caste system to actually be forced into these furnaces. Those nobles that were dissenting as well would have bones broken. They would be carried and, submitted to the furnaces regardless of what it is they actually wanted to do. And so crushing was this moment, because Orichan knew this was the end and willingly subjected himself to the furnaces because he was loyal to his species, and whatever fate had in store for his species, he would go along with. Just heartbroken that no one listened to him. Zarek watched from up high, being like, oh, damn. Because as the furnaces began to activate, the metaphysical energy of the souls of the Necrontyr would be dragged out through the smokestacks of the furnaces, and the Catan would fly around these furnaces like carry-on birds and just eating up the spiritual energy of the lesser nobles, the peasantry, and in this moment, Zarek knew they'd fucked up. But he was so mad that he knew one day the Necrontyr would turn against their creators. Well, the Necrons would turn against their creators that took them away from flesh. And this would be the fall of the Necrontyr. It's pretty tragic.
And the birth of the Necrons, right?
And the birth of the Necrons. What do you think about this being this opening acts of a whole race or a whole faction of Warhammer? It's pretty pretty rough.
It is. It's definitely very, very rough. But in terms of like lore creation, I think they did a very good job of like finding a reason why there's space robots. Very good background for space robots.
I'm really quite impressed with how they did like come up with something so layered and something that's so far-fetched but works for the fact that this was like the olden times of the setting where you could do something like this that's so out there and highbrow, only to be like, well, they're no longer this powerful because, well, then the war in heaven began.
Yeah.
Now, the war in heaven was a conflict that spanned millions of years, like entirely millions of years, with the C'tan and the Necrons and the Old Ones and their vassal races would just fight to the death. Civilizations would just be erased in a moment's notice. Black holes would be swapped out for the place of stars. It was just not good. Like, it was annihilation on a galactic scale. Like, it makes the Reapers from Mass Effect look cute.
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty full on this entire process of war. It's hard to comprehend the size and depth.
It's something that fundamentally shook reality so violently that we began to have the warp begin to churn out warp-based entities for the first time, spiritual reflections of suffering and pain and disease and violence and deception. You get where I'm going with that?
Yep.
Even entities such as Azagorod, the Nightbringer, became so unhinged in its wanton violence that it would just decide this civilization falls, and within a week, like, billions would be dead. And it's just incomprehensible the amount of destruction that actually occurred. The Old Ones were in their laboratories basically generating species just to throw into the meat grinder. Like, we need more bodies. We need to create new galactic species, plural, just to have a chance. They would create the Eldari, they would create the prototype forms of the Orcs, even smaller races like the Jakiro, and even the early primates of Earth were even theorized to be like backup plans by the Old Ones. But because this conflict went on for so long, the C'tan themselves did start to get a little bit bored. And the Deceiver, that little bastard, actually began to sow a little bit of civil war between the C'tan themselves as like, hey, you know what would be a really good meal? Each other. And as the C'tan began to feel like top dogs, they did start to turn on one another, and it would just, create extra destruction in the universe. But this lull in the oppression from the C'tan to the Old Ones is what allowed races like the Eldar and the Krork to actually gain a good footing in the universe. And some of the C'tan were like, oh, they're doing magic now? Fine, I guess. And you'd have entities such as Magladroth the Void Dragon and Niadra Zatha. Yeah, Magladroth the Void Dragon. We'll get more into him later on, but Magladroth, very smart individual. He, the Void Dragon, was the one responsible for creating psychic null pylons throughout the galaxy to try and suppress the warp threats. So the Void Dragon was the fellow who made Blackstone. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, just that level of potency was like, you know what? Hate magic. Creates a whole new material that just turns off the warp in an area. But you'd also have entities such as Niadra Zatha, the Spiral Flame. Was he the Spiral Flame? No, he's the Burning One. Forgive my confusion between the Spiral Flame and the Burning One.
No, I don't want to.
All right, whoops. So the Burning One was a Catan that we don't get a whole lot of information on, but the burning one was also crazy with this whole like gotta burn everything. Everything burns. Every single thing must burn into nothingness. Like that's his whole shtick. And he was able to create, as the same time that the Blackstone was being created, the Burning One created these abstract webway gates of a Necron design called dolmen gates. But instead of being actual gates into the webway, they were almost like pressurized breaching charges. So they would set these dolmen gates up, they would activate it, and it just rips a hole into the side of the webway and allowed the Necron forces and the Catan to actually just go inside and wreak havoc, sending like the Burning One's flames throughout entire channels of the webway. And it just insane levels of power. And it was this sort of flipping of the switch that allowed warp species such as the Enslavers to come out and be like psychic parasites to the old ones. And anytime the old ones would try and use magic to create new races to defend themselves, they would be obviously opening gates to the warp, which is becoming more and more unstable. And these Enslavers would come out and just like gobble up the old ones, parasitic devourers of psychic energy. And this was pretty much the downfall here. This was the end to the conflict.
Yep. Yeah.
Now, before we get on to the epilogue of the War in Heaven, shall we take a detour to various powers of the Catan, mate?
Yeah, let's talk about the actual individual Catan.
Well, we'll talk about the powers themselves, the actual abilities that can be wielded. So, if I were to ask you, what sort of powers might a Catan wield, what would you think? In terms of just like a wizard's fireball or a magic teleport, like what do you think stuff like that exists as on like a Catan scale?
Well, I feel like being Catan gods, there's kind of a they do what they want vibe.
Yeah, so all Catan at a baseline are considered to be immune to the natural law of the universe. They do not care for food, for breathing. They don't care for gravity. They don't care for the distances of time and space. They can just manipulate it to their will. If they want to be across the galaxy, they're across the galaxy, you know?
Yeah, they just exist as a form of will.
So several powers of the Catan can be played on the actual tabletop via either shards of certain ones such as the Nightbringer and the Deceiver and the Void Dragon, but also as transcendent Catans, which we'll get into in a little bit. So you can actually play these abilities in the game, which is pretty cool. Antimatter Meteor is a personal favorite of mine.
Sure.
So these are powers wielded by just shards of Catan, mere fragments of the Catan, and they can do things such as Antimatter Meteor. Yeah, imagine you're on a battlefield and this big godlike entity's hovering about in the distance, raises up its hand, and then space-time begins to fold in on itself as it just gathers an orb of antimatter and it's just like, here you go, catch.
Sounds terrifying.
Like you understand what happens when antimatter collides with matter, right?
A big boomba.
Big boomba. Let's say Antimatter Meteor is a bit too over the top for your liking. How about Cosmic Fire?
Cosmic Fire?
Yeah, what if you're not a big fan of throwing balls?
I mean, you just make fire exist, right?
Yeah, so fire is pretty hot. Cosmic Fire is the stuff that was the beginning of the universe itself, hotter than stars themselves. Imagine if you're the Catans, like, I call fire, and then the heavens themselves parts apart, and air itself blackens, and then a whole pillar of fire is just there, boom, like a big orbital laser. Just, why not?
Why not? Maybe because that's super destructive.
Well, probably not as destructive as something known as a writhing worldscape.
Writhing worldscape?
Yeah. What do you think writhing worldscape does?
I can't even start to, consider what some of these things do.
Antimatter meteor, cosmic fire. It kind of makes sense from a description of its name.
Yeah.
But writhing worldscape, you're like, is the ground coming apart? Is the world vibrate? Like, what's happening? Like, is the world moving through space? Like, what's happening? No, how about the laws of nature and reality decide to give up?
So just turning off physics.
Essentially, gravity, I don't know about it. Gravity usually holds planets together. What if it's not anymore? What if, air itself is actually not what you're supposed to be breathing? What if the ground is soft instead of hard? Just things that make sense to our understanding of reality. What if it was not anymore? It's crazy. Other things that make a little bit more sense would be a little bit particular to a couple of the Catan. The Nightbringer, for example, has the gaze of death. It just looks at life and
looks at you when you die.
It's quite literally what happens. It's like a vampiric siphon. The Nightbringer just appears, looks over at what it doesn't want to be alive, and your life essence is just drained from your body.
That's crazy.
You have no chance.
Yeah.
And the Deceiver would do things such as grand illusions. It's like, where's the Necron army? I can't see. Oh, there it is. It's in our base. It's a whole battalion is actually on the surface already. I thought they were, still at the edge of the solar system. No, they're here. That bloody Deceiver has deceived us again. Good night, everybody.
Why would anyone go against the being?
So because this is a Necron's POV, the actual powers of the old ones and races such as Eldari and Krork at the height of their power isn't really explored yet from a lore perspective. Even a lot of the Catan stuff is only getting tidbits added in recent edition codices, such as even like the Pariah Nexus Crusade supplement. Like they're getting there, but the old one stuff isn't really flushed out at all.
Yeah, yep.
So it's hard to actually determine what they could do in response, but I imagine there's a similar amount of like reality manipulation,
godliness,
stabilization of these various effects like writhing worldscape, but no one could be like, no, like a Jedi v Sith back and forth mind games kind of vibe is what I imagine. Couple of more powers that I really like. These two are my favorite. The Sky of Falling Stars.
Well, that just sounds like a bunch of stuff, like an orbital bombardment of some sort.
Yes, you're pretty much on the money there. Sky of Falling Stars is described as actually just beautiful at first.
Until they impact.
Yeah, until it impacts. So the Catan summons essentially orbs of light from space itself, just drags orbs of light from across space to exist on the battlefield. However, they rapidly began to grow into actual literal stars before they then hit the ground. Chucking motherfucking miniaturized stars at the battlefield. You can't beat that, Johnny.
That's how you get black holes.
Well, it's not even so much a black hole because the stars aren't being imploded in from the inside. They're just like, yeet, catch a star. That bitch tried antimatter. How about a star?
That much matter existing in a small area. That's how you get black holes.
Yeah, probably happens as well, but no one's alive to figure out what happens next. And then we got my all-time favorite of the Catan powers. This is one that you can actually for sure play on the game right now if you were to bring a Transcendent Catan or a Tesseract Vault. It's Time's Arrow. So let's say you exist and you're on the battlefield. Maybe you're the enemy warlord to the Necrons, like they're fighting like Space Marine Chapter Master Manius Calgar for like the 7th time.
In a different armor suit.
Calgar in Phobos today, let's say. So the Catan sees that you're really important.
Which you are.
You're a chapter master. Like, it's no small feat. And the Catan Shard's like, what if I just reach into the fucking time stream and unmake you.
Unmake someone?
Let's say you reach into the time stream and we can somehow visualize the flow of time for an individual and say, well, so like a year ago you were there, a year from now you'll be over here. What if I just pick you up, move you outside of the time stream, outside of that dimension of reality, and then all of a sudden your physical body has no idea what to do about that fact, and you just simply become unmade as I've completely affected the causality of your existence.
How does that translate into game? 6 damage.
Precision 6 damage, which kills most characters if I'm being real.
It's just funny.
Yeah. I mean, we have tachyon arrows that one-shot like knights in the lore, but in game it's like a one-shot D6 plus 2 weapon.
Yeah, yep. It's just funny to see the comparison where it's just like, no, I just delete one of your models.
Yeah. We need a lore reason for the game. This is what they came up with. But it's like you can't just like flick your fingers and your opponent's dead, like how Catan actually work.
In saying that, we are discussing Catan abilities from a fully fledged Catan as opposed to a small shard of their power, whereas this is probably only a small shard of what Time's Arrow could do because they can't let out any more power from the shard.
Well, that's an excellent segue, mate. Let's go into what happens next and how the Catan became shards, eh?
Yeah, because right now it's making it real hard for me to understand how the Catan lost this fight.
Yeah. So the Necrons have been plotting revenge for some time. Towards the end of the War in Heaven, Zarek and his elite cryptek cabals began work on weapons called hypercannons and other variously potent weapons that the extremely egotistical Catan were like, oh, cool, they're making these weapons in our honor, like our destructive honor. That's so sweet of them. But then, as the old ones were considered a defeated foe, and the Catan were sort of turning upon themselves once again, the Necrons were like, all right, now. And then all of the various arsenals of the Catan were pointed at the Catan and just go. Boom. And hypercannons were so unbelievably destructive that reality itself just stopped momentarily where they would be fired. Time and space would be distorted. Causality would, shift. It was so destructive, the power coming from these weapons, that Necrons nearby would not be able to remember what happened because reality stopped existing while it fired. You can't even, you can sit here and be like, well, that makes sense, just reality stops. But the more you think about it, the harder it becomes to understand.
Hence why they don't remember. Because it's too hard.
Now, you can't really kill a Catan. Not completely. Some of them you can with extreme effort, but most of them were just so powerful you could only break them apart. You could only separate their atoms and energy momentarily.
You can't kill them completely.
No, not most of them did not get killed completely. Some did, but most did not. And all the overlords and the various dynasties and stuff would have what are called Tesseract labyrinths that they would just Pokemon the shards. Pew, 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 pew. And then they would have a little Pokeball of the Nightbringer, the Deceiver, so on. Now, Tesseract labyrinths are handheld cubes that are labyrinthine dimensions in of themselves. But in the material world, they're Pokeballs.
In the real world, they're Pokeball. That's
the easiest analogy to make.
It's okay, guys. They failed their patent. We're allowed to call them that.
You know the Chronomancer model, how he's got some cubes?
Yeah, yep.
Think that.
Yeah, they're Pokeballs. Yeah. They're Palsphere.
Now, the Catan were Order 66'd.
Somehow.
Somehow. I'm really hot on my pop culture today. So the shards are all being sort of spread out across the empires, the dynasties. Shards are being kept in the labyrinths. Sometimes, however, shards would be coalesced into collections of shards, and that is actually what would be called transcendent C'tans. So transcendents are actually amalgamations of various shards smushed all together. And so these are extremely powerful versions of C'tan shards. In the game, they're as powerful as the next one. But in the lore, transcendents are like the next level, the A+ C'tan shards.
I didn't realize that they were meant to be better. I thought they were meant to be worse.
I think from the perspective of the tabletop, we have 3 named shards: Void Dragon, Nightbringer, and Deceiver.
Yeah.
Those are 3 of the big 4, as we'll call them. So they should be rightly powerful, but we notably don't have other C'tan shards than those 3. And I think Transcendents are just a great way to introduce variety of C'tan, like powers and the like, into the game.
Without introducing any actual powers into the game.
So, yeah, to keep them on par with the big named ones.
Yeah.
So you would have to decide, do I take Nightbringer or Transcendent, or Void Dragon or Transcendent? You know, they just made them on par. But in lore, to have a Transcendent is to basically have more of a demigod version of the C'tan rather than like a sliver of one.
Yeah, yep.
The shards themselves are almost infantile. They don't really remember much about their like original being. They don't really have such powerful thought processes. Their powers might not be nearly as potent, like a 6 damage times arrow. But Transcendents have gathered enough bits to actually remember what the Necrons did to them. They're able to think a bit higher up. They're able to plot and scheme.
These guys are angry.
Now, you have to keep Transcendents locked up, because if they're not locked up, they're killing you as well. They kill everybody. They're so mad. Rightly so.
You let them out as like a last resort, and you run away once you do.
It's walking a nuclear bomb alongside your guys, knowing full well that you might have to turn it on right next to your guys to have any chance of actually winning the overall fight. Yeah. So let's look at the Tesseract Vault model. That big flying thing. Now, this isn't a labyrinth, this is a vault. You may notice at the very tippity top of the vault, there, it looks like a weird canoptic wraith, but it's got big long tentacles. This is actually a canoptic sentinel, a different type of canoptic that is actually like Mind Flayer vibes, taking the C'tan shard's own power and creating a shield around it to lock it up. It's transferring its energy into its own prison, which is just baller.
That's pretty cool.
Now, on the sides of the labyrinth, you might see also similarly wraith-looking canoptic things like squished into the sides.
Yep.
Those are canoptic leeches.
Yeah.
The C'tan itself is so powerful that it's continuously blowing chunks out of the prison. It's able to rewire reality in such a way that the prison begins to fall apart like every few minutes. And the leeches are like super scarabs that are able to essentially yoink that matter before it's fully gone and just put it back.
Yeah, this system is barely holding itself together because of just how strong the C'tan shard inside.
Absolutely. So that's labyrinths and that's vaults and stuff. I got a couple other notes here about labyrinths and how they've appeared in the setting elsewhere. So there's a big prison world, if you will, for the Necrons. It's called the Labyrinth of Thanoptep. It's a world-sized labyrinth. Now, if they can frickin' Pokemon God into a little handheld ball, what the hell are they able to fit in a planet-sized version? We don't know.
An entire C'tan.
Maybe. We don't know, because as of 9th edition, the Labyrinth of Thanoptep is considered to be containing beings so terrible that not even the Necrons themselves will trade them or enslave them. What does that mean? I don't,
Let's pray we never find out.
like, what? Who's in there? Khorne? Like, is he sitting inside that labyrinth of Thanoptep? Is that his throne? Like, who else? Like, what's in there?
Surely not, because, like, Khorne has influence, and whatever is trapped in there probably doesn't.
Absolutely.
What if it's an old one?
Oh, what if it's Lord Croak?
It's just Lord Croak.
It's just Lord Croak.
Mate, surely by now Lord Croak has croaked.
What if they put Caldor Drago in there?
Oh my god. No, he's in the warp. He can't be in there.
Well, what have I told you, Johnny, that you can bind warp entities into these labyrinths?
Oh.
What if I told you?
That's why he no longer has a model.
Yeah. What if I told you that the Grey Knights on Titan were freely given a whole set of these Tesseract labyrinths by their mysterious creator race to use as they please? The Grey Knights.
This is all just weird speculation. Why do you need a planet-sized thing to hold Caldor Drago?
We're moving on from the Thanotep. I think Caldor Drago is in the warp, but the actual Grey Knights themselves do indeed have these little labyrinths on Titan to Pokeball greater demons that they've captured that were supposedly gifted to them a long time ago by the creators of said labyrinths. The frickin' Grey Knights have Necron tech, but it's so advanced that they needed to come up with their own magic system to be able to turn them on and off. The Necrons just press a button, but the Grey Knights are like, hummity, ha, arcane spell. It's open now. Put the demon in, quick!
They couldn't find the button.
Oh, dear. It's interesting, though, because it seems like some of the Catan were sort of aligned as patrons to very specific dynasties. We have some Catan that have airfall information about them, such as the Death of Sons that are bound to various battalions of the Saltec dynasty. The Novok dynasty have the Crimson God. And the Novok dynasty is known for bloody melee, so you can only imagine what the Crimson God must do.
Oh, disgustingly resilient things.
Yeah. Now, certain Catan were even deemed extreme by the standards of the Catan. Zarek himself actually personally commanded Caligura, the Silent Cry, to be imprisoned first, because they were just simply too horrific in its destruction. Of what we've described today, what is more horrifying, or so horrifying, that the Silent King's like that one first?
Probably the guy that turns off physics.
Yeah, probably. We do have notes here and there of other ones. I like Nor, Nor. Of all these, we have Tsara'noga, Azagorod, Niadrazath, and then we have Nor. Anyway, the Drakari have trapped Nor.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, Nor is stuck inside a Comora satellite realm.
Man, there seems to be more of these shards around than I expected.
Yeah, according to the 10th edition Drakari Codex, they have one.
Nice.
But we've talked a little bit about lots of things. Let's pay some attention to a couple of the big four.
But Josh, there's only 3 models.
Sure. So, Azagorod the Nightbringer, known as Kalis Ray or Kalis Ra. I don't need to give it a country singer's name here. Kalis Ra by the Eldari. We get the gist of Azagorod the Nightbringer by now, right? Very destructive, very evil. But now, he, throughout his existence, had killed so many societies that the energy of the Nightbringer manipulated the unconsciousness of sentient races permanently, to the point where the Grim Reaper or the Angels of Death or anything like that in all societies across the galaxy have this phenomena because this dude killed so many people.
All right.
That's crazy. For whatever reason, though, didn't really have that effect on the orcs, which may explain why they're not afraid of dying.
Well, they're mushrooms, right?
Yeah. Azagorod, so destructive, believed those hypercannons were built to honor himself. But when he was blown apart, some may have believed that so intense was its destructive appetite that the Nightbringer is the one responsible for the Destroyer curse.
That checks out.
It does check out. Now, Mechanicum the Deceiver, not a very powerful physical entity, but boy howdy has Mechanicum been up to stuff. He's kind of the main character of the Catan in terms of like stories done about him.
I was going to say, like, this, you say he's not as powerful, but I feel like this guy's probably the most powerful because of his abilities aren't all combat focused.
Absolutely.
He can have the most influence.
Yeah. And it seems like he really has succeeded in that because there's several stories that suggest he's gotten out of his prisons, his various shards.
Oh, he's like out and free.
In various forms, yeah. In the most recent times, there have been shards of him observed to begin leading Necrons, gathering pariah slaves across the pariah nexus, as well as creating followers within the Admech.
You'll find out this was the real reason behind the Blackstone fortresses.
Well, the Blackstone fortresses were actually mostly destroyed in Abaddon's 12th Black Crusade, nicknamed the Gothic War, which the Deceiver himself instigated because the Blackstone fortresses are extremely potent weaponry that can be turned against the Catan.
This was the contingency plan of the Necrons, and the Deceiver's like, I'll have none of that.
Yeah. So the Deceiver instigated one of Abaddon's Black Crusades by basically being like, hey, you want these fortresses, don't you? It's really good. They're really powerful. Oh, look at that. Some opposition has some of the other ones. Maybe you should go blow them up.
Nice.
Couple of more stories about the Deceiver is what I like to call the Phase Blade story.
Phase Blade story?
Yeah.
I haven't heard of this one.
So, a couple of the Imperial assassins are blessed with what are known as Catan Phase Blades.
Oh, are they?
Calidus assassin, look at her blade.
Damn it, now you're making me do things.
Damn it, Josh, I just wanted to sit here and listen to your sweet voice.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Give me a second. I wasn't prepared to go to the Imperial agents data sheets. Who am I looking at? Calidus.
Yeah, the shapeshifter one.
Phase sword and poison blade.
And if you look at her model, she does indeed have a greenish blade.
She sure does.
So,
what a rat.
The Assassinorum has a few of these that they've just found somewhere. They hand them out because they're really good, because they phase through all matter, all materials. So it's really good for assassinating. You could poke someone through a wall, you could poke someone through their armor, doesn't matter. Phases through it all. Now, there's a story that there was a planetary governor that was not doing very well. It was a bit of a problem and needed to be taken out. So they send a Calidus assassin to go deal with it.
Yep.
The Calidus assassin stakes out the region, figures out how to get to the governor to assassinate them, maybe even use its polyephrinin to then momentarily become the governor until a new person is put in place. But as the Calidus sneaks up on the governor, she goes to stab him with her blade. Except the blade doesn't actually wound the governor. It leaves the Calidus assassin and meshes with the governor.
Excuse me?
The Calidus assassin is then never heard from again, as it's believed that the governor was indeed a Shard of the Deceiver, and the Catan Phase Blade was nothing but an extension of the Catan for realsies. And so that blade is just like putting a part of your body back on.
Yep.
So the Deceiver has instigated a Gothic War of Abaddon. Another one has taken over a planet. Several of them seem to be forming little cults. What else could it have done? What is the most Deceiver thing you could think of based on what I've told you already?
I mean, there has to be some... Man, there's so much deception in the 40k universe.
Yeah. Who are the masters of deception in 40k?
The Alpha Legion.
Oh, yeah. What have
Are you trying to tell me that there's some deceiver bullshit going on inside of the Alpha Legion?
Yep. So, at some point in one of the Alpha Legion novels, the Deceiver actually manages to embed itself within a warband of the Alpha Legion by portraying itself as their Primarch Omegon.
Oh no.
Oh no, indeed. Simultaneously, a Cryptek actually kind of hires the Alpha Legion to go get this Tesseract Labyrinth, which has got a greater demon of corn trapped inside of it. Like, hey, go use that. It'll be really helpful for your plans, you know? Now, as things go on in the story, the warband leader, Occam the Untrue, begins to really suspect this Omegon fellow. Like, surely not, right? Eventually, when they free this demon and they've got the labyrinth, Occam realizes that the Omegon well and truly is a deception, and it's a Catan Shard of the Deceiver. Yoink, you've been pokeballed.
Yoink, you've been pokeballed.
The Deceiver that was portraying Omegon is now quite literally a Pokemon for a Alpha Legion warband leader who is using the fact that it's got the freaking Deceiver in his pocket to be like, so, where is Omegon exactly? What happened to him? And that's where the story sort of ends.
Nice.
Wild.
Does that mean we might get Omegon coming back?
As a Necron unit.
But that's confirmed Omegon's still alive, right?
You would think, hey? Hard to tell with the Alpha Legion.
It is, but I'll take the win.
Yeah. So before we get into a couple more of the big ones, let's do some of the lesser known ones. Lesser known Catans. Now, once upon a time, it was written that there were only 4 survivors of the Catan. Obviously, with the expanding narrative and universe, we're aware of there being more than that. But there are, of course, the 4 biggies, and everyone else is not a biggie. So,
okay,
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 6 lesser Catans, if you will. They're not lesser, but we'll just refer to them as such. So, we've already talked a little bit about Llandu'gor Zarthar, the Burning One.
Yep.
That cruel MF that loves burning things, made those little breaching webway charges. Not much more is known about him, except for the fact that Zarek himself supposedly shattered him with a spear. He was like, you die now, poke. And a shard of the Burning One is that trapped fellow at the top of the Silent King's chair.
Hold on, repeat that?
So, Zarek himself supposedly shattered the Burning One with his own weapon.
Yep.
And then took a shard of the Burning One, used him as a power source for his big old chair, the big model that you can get for the Silent King. And that Catan entity poking its head out of the top of the Dais of Dominion, as it's called, is a shard of the Burning One.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that we had lore around who was stuck up there.
It's the Burning One, mate. The one who helped breach the webway. So it stands to reason that all the weaponry coming from the chair is the power of the Burning One.
Nice.
And this was something that was introduced as lore in the 9th edition codex. It's pretty cool.
Of course you know which codex it came out in.
Yeah, the wikis and all that reference their stuff. You just got to scroll to the bottom and read. Another one that was introduced in the 9th edition, very, very brief lore bite. You know those little like column paragraphs that are in the codices? It's one of those.
Yeah.
Much like the Labyrinth of Thenotep. So I have no idea how to pronounce this one, but I'm going to give it a go as Thesakia. Thesakia, the Walking Blight. Supposedly, the Walking Blight was lured through something known as the Inevitable Gateway and then broken within the void beyond. I don't know what that means. What is the Inevitable Gateway? I guess we'll find out in like 10 years.
I mean, it's inevitable that we'll find out, right?
You would think, eh? So the Necrons have this thing, or they know about this thing that's called the Inevitable Gateway, and they like basically throw some doggy treats in there and like, go fetch. And the Walking Blight goes in there, and it was just booby trapped to the nth degree. And now Thesakia is not really a Catan anymore. Close the gate.
Oof. Just trapped forever.
Mm-hmm. One of the ones that's been more recently brought in to the setting via the Pariah Nexus supplement is, or you know the concept of eldritch horror, right? The more you think about it, the more it kind of freaks you out.
Yep.
Lash'uddra, the Endless Swarm.
Ooh.
Now, the Silent King considers Lash'uddra to be the most despicable of all the Catan, described as an everlasting sickness in the minds of all sentient mortals, seeing eternally throughout all of their eyes.
Okay, so it's mental illness.
It's mental illness. The Catan...
Hey, depression.
The Catan created depression.
And then infected everyone with it, which is fair because you see what's in the 41st millennium and there's nothing but depression.
It's quite crazy. Lash'uddra doesn't have too much more to it other than when it was shattered and then entombed, apparently 1,000 miseries fled out from its form into the galaxy. So it may as well be mental health. But Lash'uddra was actually deployed as a Catan shard in the Pariah Nexus during the constant back and forth war between the Admech and the Silent Kings, routine exchange of super weapons. The Thoth dynasty granted permission for the Technomandrites to deploy a shard of Lash'uddra. Now, we talked about the Technomandrites, right? You know about them?
Yeah.
Basically, cryptech, most wanted war criminals.
Yep.
But during the Pariah Nexus, the Silent King gave him a good old pardon. We love pardons, don't we?
Hey, when you're at war, you need to use whatever resources you have.
The Technomandrites and their ways of war were considered just too much. Too much even for the honorable Necrons. As honorable as they are. Yeah,
weren't these the guys that were throwing doomsday devices at the...
Yeah, it's Lash'uddra.
Imperium. Yeah. Amongst other things, but yes.
Lash'uddra was deployed to the point where, in exchange with the super weapons of the Admech, the planet itself was cracked apart, gravity destabilized, billions of souls just killed. And this was just a shard of Lash'uddra.
I mean, with a name like the Endless Swarm, I'm not surprised.
But it seems like, as much as I love Emotech and his sort of side of the rebellion, he's got Orica and he's got Nemesis Zandrak, my boy. The Silent King's got the frickin' Technomandrites. He's got the Thoth dynasty, who kind of strike me as the Catan jailers of the setting, because the Thoth dynasty as well also are keenly aware of the fact that there are feral infant Catan dwelling within various stars themselves. They just know they are there.
As infant as in new?
Yeah, newborn, feral, not particularly alerted to the state of the universe. Catan. Just more
They're
of
in
that.
their cocoon still.
Yeah, more of those cocoony initial primordial energy stuff that just never coalesced into.
Well, hasn't yet. Is waiting
coalesced.
for sentience.
So we got Lash'uddra, Thusakia, Nyadrazatha. Here's one you should know about. Might I reintroduce you to Llandu'gor the Flayer?
Hey, that's that thing that happened.
It's that thing. Llandu'gor the Flayer. Now, this is one you should be able to tell me about to an extent, right?
This is one of the few shards that actually died. Well, Catan that actually died, right?
Yeah, died. It's gone. It's
like dead.
Entirely obliterated.
And right before dying, he invented the Flayer curse.
Yeah, because Llandu'gor was a big hungry boy, essentially a Catan zombie.
Man, this is the guy we want to return so that we can get a new range of flayed ones.
So I really do want there to be a shard of Llandu'gor the Flayer, but I would also be just as happy if they brought out some models for the dynasty that was responsible for killing him.
And which people are responsible for killing him? Is it the Mefrit?
No, it's the Maynarch dynasty.
Maynarch, I've heard that name before.
The Maynarch are like a brassy metallic dynasty with like an orangey glow to them. The Maynarch are considered the Silent King's executioners and are so violent that other dynasties are like, we don't like you. You're too much. We think you're evil compared to us. And the Maynarch were responsible for destroying the Flayer, and they were the first to receive his curse. Now, there can be a little bit of propaganda between the dynasties because they still don't really like each other that much. But it's claimed that the Maynarch were the first to experience the Flayer virus, but rather than starting from the peasants up, it starts from the nobility down. And when the Maynarchs began to awaken, a lot of the nobility were crazy. But one individual elected herself to the position of Feyrak and had such force of will that she could simultaneously ward off the Flayer virus from infecting other members of her court, but also were able to control the feral members of the court. And this is my girl, Sunbaker.
This is the one we want to model for.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Zunbakia or something like that. But Sunbaker. Yeah, I would love a model for her. Llandu'gor, though, eh?
Imagine a fleshed out flayed ones range. Oh,
a fleshed out. Yeah, we should.
We could even get Drazak in there.
Maybe we should. Maybe we should do an episode on that, Johnny.
On the flayed ones.
Maybe we should come up with some flayed ones models, eh? Some sort of range idea. Maybe some rules for them. What do you think?
Sounds like you're hinting at something.
Maybe. Potentially.
There's an option.
I'm trying to think.
You know what? You guys tell us if you want that.
Maybe you don't have a choice, actually. Maybe it's coming.
Oh. But Josh, we could have turned around and been like, oh man, you guys really wanted this.
Hey.
Lied through our teeth.
Maybe you should say that you want it anyway and it'll come quicker than it's meant to at this Necron November. Could you imagine what Llandu'gor the Flayer would actually look like as a model, though? Like, what would it look like?
I'm thinking, like, the thing that comes to mind is, like, AOS ghouls crossed with, like, the robotic Necron side of things, where you've got, like, this one high royalty character who thinks that they're, you know, the epitome of a queen, but is completely depraved and lost it.
A kit-bashed Usharan, meshed with the Nightbringer, meshed with just Necron bits.
I feel like Usharan isn't quite the right model.
Fair.
He would be very hard to kit bash with, I feel.
You know who I could imagine it?
And I feel like she'd be a little more lithe, in all honesty.
There's a couple of models that come to mind for a body template. We could do something a little more upright and eerie like Lorca Vi from the Soul Blights, but I was also thinking maybe like using the bestial slinkiness of the Sludge Raker from the Cruel Boys.
The Sludge Raker. I can honestly say I'm not aware of what that looks like.
You should look up the Sludge Raker beast. It's great. I like it a lot. I like Cruel Boys because of this model.
Sludge Raker.
Oh, wait. It's okay.
You say that like we're not going to cut it in post.
Hey. Yeah, that minute-long wait time will just be cut down to seconds.
Fudge is that?
It's a Sludge Raker beast, man. The Cruel Boys are slinky swamp orcs.
But what the hell is that thing?
Who needs war pigs and squigs when you could have strange swamp creatures?
I don't like it.
Now imagine that as a Flayer Catan. Okay, so I got 2 more of the lesser known Catans for you, and these ones are actually characters in books, believe it or not.
Wait, there's Catan Shard characters in books?
Yep.
Nice.
Who do you want first? Zarhulash the Potentate or Yggra'nya the World Shaper?
Oh, let's go with the World Shaper.
Yggra'nya. Here's Mr. Writhing Worldscape.
I had a feeling.
Known to break apart and reshape worlds that is in a way more pleasing to itself. Imagine.
Yeah, why not?
It's
the artist.
It's the artist of the Catan, except it uses entire planets as its canvas. Now, do you know about the World Engine?
Vaguely.
The big Necron Death Star?
Yeah.
Yeah, so here's going to be spoilers for the novel The World Engine by Ben Counter, written in 2014. You can...
Spoilers, the book is 11 years old.
Hey, maybe someone wants to read it. I thought about doing it for a book club, but there's no Audible version. So...
They've had 11 years.
It would not get read. But there will be timestamps out of Yggra'nya if you want to move along and read this yourself, because it's pretty relevant to the plot. The World Engine was essentially a Death Star for the Necrons that was the seat of power for a particular dynasty known as the Megaada. And the Megaada were basically just sitting on this thing like a super weapon and were essentially relegated to a particular area of space as a Swiss flag of the Necrons because it's just so powerful. Like, you just stay there and you're a threat. You just help out if things go dire, okay? So Yggra'nya was considered the patron of the World Engine. Like, the World Engine was its sort of seat of power way back when, before it was blown up. And Yggra'nya actually has a visual description.
Ooh.
Was supposedly manifesting as a being with skin of multicolored flame, with several arms, each carrying a classic symbol of rulership, such as a scepter, an orb, an animal trophy, etc. In its 3-eyed face was adorned by a headdress of gold and deep blue. I'm getting like a little bit of like Indian mythology here.
Yeah.
So Borsus, which is the name of the World Engine, was its own sort of creation. It created this thing that was then ruled by the Megaada dynasty. All right, now we get into the World Engine novel as a sort of a plot. Now, the Megaada dynasty ruled this thing, but 2 overlords of the Nephrek dynasty decided we want it. And when they took over the World Engine and activated it, they actually activated it as a bit of an Uber, towards Mars because they thought that the Void Dragon was indeed upon Mars. And they're like, cool, so we're not going to get there ourselves. Let's take the Death Star. And the world...
I mean, if anyone's going to know where the Void Dragon is, it's the Necrons, right? So that puts pretty good hope that it's probably on Mars.
Yeah. So you remember that War of the Beasts where the orcs were like bringing that giant planetoid to the Sol system? This is like the Necrons version of that story.
Sure is.
Someone has described this to me as a New Hope, but Warhammer.
I mean, they have to get their inspiration from somewhere.
So the World Engine is making its way through the galaxy towards Mars, just blowing up planets and scouring worlds of life along the way. Why not? At some point, one of the two Nephrek overlords, Nephrek is actually one of the main dynasties, the golden ones that become light and actually translocate around the battlefield. They were a ninth edition one. Anyway, one of the overlords goes crazy. Hekiroth was his name. He actually steals the leftover flame-colored skin of Yggra'nya and wears it and declares himself a god amongst the Necrons.
Oh, dude, he's lost his plot.
He's lost his plot. Now, there's a shard of Yggra'nya that actually powers this station. And
yeah, she's there.
And
they killed her physical form, but not her god form.
Yeah, he, her, whoever.
It was just an avatar.
It was an avatar, yeah. So this thing is going frickin' crazy throughout the Imperium. And 15 chapters of Space Marines are just chasing after it, trying to do anything to this thing. And because it's so powerful and powered by a Catan, it's got huge deflector shields, ballistic warheads bounce off, lasers bounce off. They can't even penetrate it with conventional weaponry. Nothing is happening, right? And
yep.
Yggra'nya actually doesn't want this to happen. It doesn't want destruction of worlds. It doesn't want its skin to be worn. So
every world they destroy, Yggra'nya is but that was a potential project.
Basically, one of the chapters of the Space Marines in this chase were the Astral Knights. The Astral Knights were...
Who the hell are the Astral Knights?
They were the chapter that was, expanded upon for this one book. You know how it goes.
Oh, okay.
You know how it goes.
Yeah.
The Astral
They're not
Knights.
relevant.
I think they're either Ultramarines or Fierce. Hold on. I should know this. Astral Knights coming up. Imperial Fist. There we go.
Fisty boys.
They're fist the boys. So the Astral Knights, a very cool silver with blue trim scheme. They were here almost entirely in force, with nearly 800 Astartes warriors committed to this engagement. Yggra'nya sends out through the warp or whatever else a vision to the librarian of the Astral Knights and actually makes contact with one of the Astral Knights librarians. But because he's been torn apart or she's been torn apart, whatever, the actual avatar in the librarian's vision appears emaciated, just, gray matter. All its jewelry is tattered. Its eyes are barely glowing. Its gemstone receptacles are cracked or empty. Just really pissed off about the Necrons in general, makes a bargain with the librarians. Hey, I'll help you get inside and blow this thing up if you let me go.
Okay. Yep.
And an agreement is made because at this point, millions of casualties. Astartes doing F-all from the outside. Whole battle fleets doing F-all except dying, The Astral Knights' entire chapter force that was present, almost 800 fellows, ram the planet with their adamantium-tipped battle barges. And for the next 100 plus hours, almost all 800 Marines fall one by one to tens of thousands of Necrons. We've played Space Marine 2. We've read the stories. We know what several Space Marines can achieve.
We sure do.
Try almost 800.
It seems like an impossible number to defeat.
They do pretty well, and with the help of Yggra'nya and the other Nephrek overlord who wasn't too pleased about what his buddy was up to, just systematically tore through this planetoid space station, blowing up engines and weapon batteries, and just every hour or two, more and more Astartes were just falling, until eventually they did get to the core and Melter charged the world engine to destruction. And the Astral Knights were considered KIA, committing their entire chapter to a suicidal attack.
Love it.
It's meant to be sad, damn it.
No. They're Space Marines. They're the definition of who cares. Let them die.
Well, if you want to be even happier, the Shard, in fact, did manage to escape and is now just out there. Yggra'nya is a free Shard somewhere out there.
Nice. I'm sure that won't return to haunt the Imperium at some point.
There was a small tidbit in one of the Apocalypse battle supplements, though, where a bunch of Ultramarines, including Cato Sicarius and MC McGee, old Calgar boy, actually went up against another Shard of Yggra'nya that was deployed out of a Tesseract vault. And we've already established that Yggra'nya does not like how the Necrons treated him. And as soon as he was freed of that Tesseract vault, just split the planet apart. Whole chasms erupted. Necrons and Imperium alike just fell into the depths of the planet itself, and actually was extremely close to killing Cato Sicarius with a giant rocky fist before Cato was like, here, catch, and threw a vortex grenade at him, which sucked him into the warp, which is actually very, very bad for Catan.
I was going to say, are Catan able to go into the warp?
It's considered like anathema to them. Like they can't perceive it. They can't understand it. They don't feel it. So we've had a very successful Shard of Yggra'nya and a far less successful one.
So one is free and one is just gone forever?
Pretty much. But that's a bit of Yggra'nya. How did you like that one?
It's good to see some Catan Shards actually like out there doing things that affect the universe.
Well, how would you like me to tell you about Zarhulash the Potentate?
Sure.
So this is actually spoilers for 2 books.
Oh no.
Belisarius Cawl, The Great Work, a relatively recent novel, as well.
Oh, talking Indomitus here.
Indomitus era, but also the Horus Heresy novel Pharos. So you can skip out of this chapter.
I don't know anything about that, but that's fine.
You can skip out of this chapter if you want to. Just go to the timestamps. So what is the Pharos? The Pharos was a series of 8 beacons that were intended to be used as FTL beacons to exchange messages between various Necron empires. The idea was that the Necron Empire was once upon a time going to expand out of the Milky Way into other galaxies, to the point that it's even confirmed that in Zarek's exile during the Big Sleep, he actually took his big old ship to other galaxies and began laying the groundwork for Necron expansions out of the Milky Way were something bad to happen.
Like Hive Fleet.
Yep.
Showing up.
Like Hive Fleet. So the Pharos are a bunch of these FTL beacons. Now, in the Horus Heresy, when the Wordbearers and the Ultramarines do their big fight, and the Wordbearers create the Ruin Storm to essentially create this humongous warp storm that limits the ability of the Ultramarines to go to Terra, and they have to just be stuck in Ultramar fighting Wordbearers and World Eaters, right? Good. So an Iron... I'm not sure if it's... Oh my God. Is it Iron Hands or Iron Warriors? One of the Iron dudes who was on the side of the good guys by the name of Barbarous Dantioch. He was...
Oh, man.
Barbarous Dantioch. I feel like he's Iron Warriors, because that would be neat. Barbarous... You'd think I would know this, but it's the Catan episode. Iron Warriors. There we go. I was right. So, Warsmith...
You said he's a good guy, right?
A good Iron Warrior.
They exist?
Yeah.
Aren't they all just assholes because Perturabo?
Well, they're assholes, but they might not necessarily want to betray the Imperium, you know?
This is the one guy from this legion that stayed good.
He's the Saul Tarvitz, the Nathaniel Garrow, the Garviel Loken of the Iron Warriors. So
there has to be one, right?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Shattered Legions, the Black Shields, there were people that changed sides like quite, subtly, and some forces were just not even sure what was going on. There was a whole bunch of white scars that turned traitor for a while because they just literally didn't know what side they were meant to actually be fighting for. Like, it was a whole mess of a time. But Barbarous D'Antioch was an Iron Warrior warsmith who actually came across one of these Pharos beacons, a defunct Xenos radio planet. And he helped to, defend it against like Night Lord assaults. But he and Bobby G actually used it to rally scattered loyalists of the region to Ultramar as like a, hey, we cannot reach Terra. We don't know what is happening to Terra. We can't see out of this warp storm. We might be all that's left. Come to Ultramar, And that ties in to the Imperium Secundus arc of novels, where there's like a second Imperium that Bobby G and the Lion and Sanguinius actually form because they're stuck.
Yep.
And this particular beacon was also attractive to the Night Lords, who at this point were trying to find Curse, who just went AWOL. And so it was a bit of a scrap. But Mr. D'Antioch was more or less forced to overload the Pharos to deny the traders this tool. And overloading a huge FTL beacon was not good because it attracted a certain deep space predatorial species, Johnny.
5 fleets.
It attracted the fucking Tyranids.
Which hive was attracted?
Well, just the Tyranids, like in general, they're like, hey.
Oh, in general, we don't get it. We don't get a named hive.
It's like they're like, oh, there's something over there. We'll get there in 10,000 years. Just hold on. I mean, it's not particularly like 100% confirmed, but it's like it's the thing. It's the thing that people like. That's how they found us. Afterwards, Mr. G-Man ordered the destruction of the Pharos, but for some reason, Johnny, it just kept repairing itself.
Oh, funny that. It's almost like it was Necron technology.
Funny that. And he commissioned one of his various companies who would later become the size of the Emperor chapter to stand vigil over the world. And then that takes us to Belisarius Cawl the Great Work. Mr. Cawl was fascinated by Blackstone as a way to help ward off chaos and close up
which
the
is
rift.
fair. Does a pretty good job.
And in his investigations into the Pharos, he realizes that there are chambers even deeper than what has been explored, and finds out that the Pharos, each Pharos beacon is powered by a Catan shard. Inside the Pharos beacon,
oh no!
I mean, this particular world's beacon was a shard of Zarhulash the Potentate, a person that pretty much was that snobby, condescending, regal Catan of the Pantheon, who just looks down at everything. This fellow told Cawl he considers the Chaos Gods to be mere etheric disturbances, the Machine God is a lie, and the Emperor himself is nothing more than a weapon, and the Necrons themselves, treacherous children.
Hey, this guy doesn't lie.
Doesn't lie at all. So this dude was a battery, and much like
this stuff is all correct.
He's all off. He's all good. He's popping off. He basically says to Cawl, mate, can I get out of here? I'll tell you how this all works if you just let me out. And Call's like, yeah, all right. And then after he figured out how it worked, he then turned the beacon back on and teleported Zarhulash across the galaxy, right smack bang in the middle of a bunch of like Tomb World systems.
Oh, just sent him home.
Just sent him home, except sent a freed shard that was very, very annoyed about the Necrons into Necron territory. And then Call's like, all right, job done.
Nice.
But
Call's such a little shit.
But the Potentate did not go down very lightly. He smacked all them Astartes and Call's fellows around like they were nothing before Cawl was like, beep boop, bye now.
I mean, he is a Catan shard.
Yeah, but he can't kill the one epic hero the Admech have. Are you kidding?
Then that'd be like Chaos Knight.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Johnny. We've had Zarhulash, Yggra'nya, Llandu'gor, Lash'uddra. How are you enjoying this look into lesser known Catans?
I didn't realize there were that many that had some fleshing.
It's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, shall we talk about my favorite?
Oh, we're finally getting there, are we?
We're finally getting to Magladroth.
I kept thinking we've missed one.
We've missed one.
We made mention of him.
Oh, don't worry. I wouldn't let us go without having Magladroth the Void Dragon.
We made mention of him a couple of times, including in that last Catan shard.
Yep.
He doesn't miss.
What?
The machine god is a lie.
Oh yeah. What do you know about the Void Dragon, Johnny?
The Void Dragon is stuck on Mars.
Is he? Is he? So
Wow, it's rumored, but
it's rumored.
This is the machine god that the Adeptus Mechanicus worship, rumors say.
Yeah, we'll get into that. There's a B-side to Magladroth the Void Dragon. The B-side's named Dragon of Mars.
Yeah.
So Magladroth the Void Dragon. This fellow's the most powerful of the Catan, and it's actually like not even close.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
That I wasn't aware of.
The Void Dragon is considered the master of the material realm. You know, we got the Nightbringer who kills people, Llandu'gor who's hungry, you know, the World Shaper, blah, blah, blah. Magladroth is the master of the material physics, and his power is such that he is essentially like oblivion itself distilled into a being. Like reality just, you know, unravels if he decides to do that.
Okay.
He's the fellow that, as we mentioned, made the Blackstone pylons to help distort reality and close up the warp zip zip. But he also is partially built from Blackstone when he appears. And he actually, like, visually appears like pixelated, like distorted. He exists between dimensions of reality, just in and out, very hard to actually deal with. When a single shard of him escaped a dynasty prison, he managed to almost destroy like an entire dozen of their worlds before they managed to cage him back up. A single shard.
Nice.
Nice. Now, Magladroth was actually weakened not by the Catan, not by the Necrons, but by the Eldari god known as Vol.
What's this guy?
So, have you heard of the talismans of Vol?
I've heard of them, but don't ask me anything other than that they exist.
So Vol is the great smith of the Eldari gods and realized the Void Dragon was a threat. He was making these pylons that were closing off the warp. So what does Vol do? He grabs them, smushes them together, creates them as the talismans of Vol, which are now called Blackstone Fortresses, Johnny.
Okay.
Mr. Vol was also the one responsible for creating what were known as nowadays like the Wraith constructs, because the Void Dragon could create like practically invincible electrical warriors that would just, you know, get through fleshies like nobody's business. And so Vol made Blackstone Fortresses. He made Wraith constructs. He's like, we need to deal with this motherfucking dragon.
Man, this guy seems OP.
Yeah, and Vol was able to actually stitch, in a way, the Blackstone Fortresses around the metaphysical neck of the dragon and sort of seal his power away before, you know, being torn apart more by the Necrons, I guess. It's really like vague mythological woo-woo, but it was Vol himself that was like, be gone, dragon, I will slay you.
So then how did he end up trapped?
So after...
How did they manage to get this one to be in shards?
So after the fall, already weakened by Vol and most likely weakened further by the Necrons, Magladroth needed to flee. And it's believed that he fled to what would become Terra or Earth before it was Earth/Terra. Just an absolutely...
Before humans.
Yeah, before having power back, just an absolute crippled star god. The idea is he fled to this world where he then slumbered for eternity, much like the Transformers crashing into that volcano and then waking up 60 million years later.
Yep.
Ah, my pop culture today, Johnny.
You're on a roll.
I know. These Warhammer people just like to borrow ideas, don't they? So, as it goes, we need to take the Dragon of Mars stuff with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
The Horus Heresy novel Mechanicum is what created this whole Dragon of Mars, you know, myth.
There's something trapped under
So
Mars.
yet another of the Horus Heresy stuff.
And it might be a Catan shard.
There's a region of Mars called the Noctis Labyrinth. It is a weird null zone that technology just goes crazy. You can't build things. Machine spirits riot. People go crazy. They have visions, but it's like sealed at the same time because something's in there, and it's what people call the Dragon of Mars. Now, it's pretty well regarded that the Emperor did that, and the Emperor also essentially stationed like guardians of the dragon, like as a position. But because of their
So who's the current guardians of the dragon?
So the Dragon of Mars, Guardians of the Dragon, in the Horus Heresy, there was a fellow named Adept Semyon, but then eventually, Adept Dahlia would become then the new Guardian of the Dragon after a while, known to hold her title well into perhaps the 40k era because it says 10,000 years.
Oh, damn.
But, and here's a little excerpt there about Dahlia. Only much later when Dahlia dared return to the Silver Cavern, did she see that the book containing the grand lie of Mars had been taken. 10,000 years would pass before the next guardian was drawn to the Noctis Labyrinth, but by then the damage had been done. So this Book of Mars, it is a feature of the Guardians of the Dragons because their proximity to whatever the Dragon of Mars is also sort of sharing visions between them, sharing intellects, memories, but it's all hazy, it's all a little bit distorted. And so in the book Mechanicum, Adept Semyon is one of the main characters and says something to this effect. It's all the dragon remembers, or at least a version of its memories. It's hard to tell what's real and what's not sometimes. I listen to its impotent roars of hatred as it watches from its jail on Mars, and I write what comes out. But truth, as of all things, is a moving target. What of this is real and what is fantasy? Well, who can tell? And so the Guardians have been essentially note-taking what the dragon tells them. And a lot of what the dragon tells them is vague enough that it could be applied to what happened with the Catan and the Necrons. For example, the Dragon of Mars once lived in space between the stars.
I mean, didn't they all?
The memories of the Dragon of Mars says that he waged war against his own kind, which left him in a weakened state, so he hid on Terra. Or the description of the dragon is stated that his breast shone with the light of the stars he had devoured. During his fight with the Emperor, it said the dragon's scales are described as being silver in color, harder than steel, and yet rippling like liquid mercury when struck hard enough. So there's...
I mean, this is all sounding like Catan shard.
Yep, but my favorite little tidbit out of all of these things is that the dragon's memories includes him fighting the Emperor somewhere near Cyrene, Libya, in the 11th or 12th century AD, but also as serving Emperor Diocletian almost a millennia earlier. So there's a couple of memories that the Dragon of Mars has about being on Terra, fighting as a soldier, fighting the Emperor as a dragon, and actually, Johnny, a lot of these little plot points actually mirror the real-world mythological tale of St. George and the Dragon.
That's cute.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, I do like that.
So hopefully that clears up a bit about the difference between the Void Dragon and the Dragon of Mars. There's a good chance the Dragon of Mars is the Void Dragon, but it's not confirmed. Just
mate, difference. You made me a believer.
You're a Guardian of Mars now. You're the Guardian of the Dragon, Johnny. Off you pop. Read the book.
Guardian? I'm letting that bitch out.
Well, the World Engine wanted to.
Imagine how thankful the Catan shard of the Void Dragon would be if I was the one that let him out.
Right? But yeah, it's widely considered that the Emperor actually entombed the dragon upon Mars, knowing full well it would have this sort of psychological impact of turning them to a technological cult in the future.
But that goes against everything the Emperor worked toward.
Not if he foresaw things such as needing a sister planet that was essentially a giant's weapons forge.
I mean, yeah, but you're still forgetting one key thing.
Yeah.
religion is heresy.
When has the Emperor not being a hypocritical dick? Okay, Johnny.
About as often as he was a bad dad.
Which was very often.
Which was all the time.
Okay, Johnny. Have you been enjoying our episode today?
Yeah, I have been.
Have there been anything missing from our run here that you've clued in on?
No, but I'm assuming there is.
So Magladroth, the Void Dragon, called one of the big four, right?
You did. Who's number 4?
May I introduce you to Tsara'noga the Outsider?
Who?
Tsara'noga the Outsider. Now,
never heard of him.
Well, you're about to. So Tsara'noga the Outsider was known as being just this absolute aura of madness and insanity, whose mere presence would drive those that would witness Tsara'noga to actually take their own lives, because being around him was too much. It was that hellish to gaze upon or be around. Pretty freaky.
Okay.
Pretty freaky, right?
Yep.
Now, Tsara'noga in the Eldari myths was believed to actually have been tricked into exile by Chegarak.
Here we go.
So it's all going pretty badly, war in heaven, but the gods themselves still pretty well exist. Slaanesh has not come about and eaten them yet. So Eldari gods are real at this point. We got Aisha, Cain, Vol, Kurnoth, etc. But we also have Chegarak or Kekarak or however you want to pronounce it. Now,
the Harlequin's laughing god.
The laughing god, yeah. So Tsara'noga had himself a little boys squad. He would go around the galaxy with, broskies that would, help him achieve his miserable ends. But then Chegarak knew that no mortal entities would be able to go clash against him because they would sooner kill themselves, right? So Chegarak's ploy was to actually trick the Outsider by essentially shrouding Tsara'noga's allies as Chegarak, which would then drive Tsara'noga to go kill them, thinking that was Chegarak. And one by one, it devoured its own brethren. Now,
this thing was eating Catan.
These things were eating, it was eating Catan, but because like attracts like, these fellows were also particularly mad and insane, which would then make Tsara'noga further mad and insane. And in an absolute fit of rage about being defeated, about killing his friends, it turned upon itself. It's, thought that potentially the Outsider killed itself or clawed itself apart because of the madness it was experiencing about what had happened to it, its just general state of being. But it's also believed that it never died. This was the only Catan that survived the fall because he was so, insane. He actually left. He left the galaxy. He's like, no, this is too much. I can't believe what I've done. I can't believe that. What's reality anymore? And left the galaxy. But not very far, it turns out.
Oh.
Now, there is a prophecy of the Eldari that states when the blood of the Eldari runs red throughout the galaxy, the 4 great Catan shall rise. So that then begs the question, well, if Tsara'noga is one of the big 4, where is it? If it's a Catan that survived, where did it go?
It just left the galaxy, right?
Yes. So below the galactic plane, there has been confirmation of a really big Dyson sphere. Do you know what a Dyson sphere is?
Yes.
Excellent. I love those things. So the Dyson sphere has been observed below the galactic plane to the south. The Eldari have this particular region of space as a point of caution to consistently, monitor.
Avoid
and monitor. There have been Imperial Navy exploration vessels that have actually glimpsed it somehow, because this Dyson sphere reflects light to do you know what an albedo range is? It's like how
heard the term before.
It's like how much light does a surface reflect, like snow, for example.
Yeah.
So the albedo range of this sphere approaches infinity. This thing is almost a perfect illusion in real space.
Oh, interesting.
And it's there perhaps even more confirmed by the fact that High Fleet tendrils have gone near it and were like, nope, and then went around it. Interesting. Now, Farseer has had a vision of such a thing as well, claiming that the inverted geometries of the Outsider curl and tighten around its harvest as they clamber and crawl like vermin around his illogical labyrinth. Its prey have since lost their sanity, save for the false hope that they may escape, with the Outsider seeking to quell this hope. And this has been a thing that was introduced in 3rd edition lore.
Oh, damn. That's a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's taken us way back.
Yeah, Mad Heretic has claimed actually to have seen the Lord of Insanity dwelling in a world within a world. So, yeah, we have this entity that was driven out by Yggra'nya, killed itself potentially, maybe not, maybe it has survived. A prison has not held it forever. He may come back. Tsara'noga, everybody.
All right.
What do you think of that?
That's 4 Catan.
That's 4 Catan. That's pretty well what I have for you today, mates. We've got the staging of the Catan, their fall, their powers, the big four, a bunch of other people. What do you think?
There's a lot going on out there.
It's quite insane, isn't it?
Yeah, and seeing that some of this lore was fleshed out so early, like 3rd edition.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Well, there always was meant to be 4 Catan, but then they've just decided, you know what, that's lame. If we've broken them apart, can we not have more?
Yeah.
Who's your favorites?
The Unending Swarm.
Yeah.
Terrifies me.
Lash'uddra.
Yeah, and probably the Flayer, because I like the implied potential. And I like that, they can die.
They can die. Yeah, they can. Some have.
But what does it take?
Everything. What did it cost, Papa Thanos? Everything, my child. The whole Astral Knights chapter.
Mate, that wasn't even to kill one. That was just to push back a shard.
Yeah, right? What would you like to see from, like, Catan, like, going forward, like, from a lore perspective, but also, like, a model tabletop perspective?
I feel like a rampant Catan could make for a good, like, start of edition enemy. Like, narrative for, like, the start of an edition. Could give them a reason to bring back either a pre-existing one or someone new. I would like to see more of the Deceiver in the lore, as I feel like that's the best one to fit into the current universe. Plus, Deceiver needs a new model anyway.
Sure does. And compared to, like, the Nightbringer, who definitely needs a model too, the Deceiver's actually been doing stuff. Like, has been in a Alpha Legion novel.
Yeah.
Has absorbed Calidus Assassin. Has instigated a Gothic war. Like, give this guy a model, please.
His old model is definitely a little outdated.
Oh, Johnny, what if a pitched box set battle between a Harley Quinn refresh with an avatar of Yggra'nya and another Necron expansion of whatever description, flayed ones, I don't mind, but it has a Catan Shard of Insanity?
Ooh. I could see that, but who would the Catan Shard of Insanity be bringing to the party is the real question.
True. A bunch more destroyers.
Well, would it be destroyers? Because that's a different potential. Maybe a new range of Necrons, but they're like an auxiliary race that have been converted to necrodermis, so they're not quite so humanoid.
Hear me out. The pariahs. The pariahs are, humans sent through partial biotransference, right? That would make someone pretty insane.
Yeah.
Oh.
That could definitely be a thing.
I'm into it.
Maybe in 13th edition.
I would like to see...
But Joshy, how are they meant to introduce an Ultramarines character into this book?
Well, they could have done Kato and Calgar fights the World Shaper again, but no.
Maybe for 500 World.
Maybe. my money's on Trazen, the Infinite. But if I may, I think Trazen the Infinite has a shard of. Oh, who's his shard? I think it's Lash'uddra. Does he have it?
Of course, Trazen has a shard.
He does. Trazen the Infinite possesses a shard of Lash'uddra. I imagine he's got shards of several, but he also has one of Lash'uddra.
Notably.
I would like, let's say, Rampant Catan, as you put it. Like, keep your Transcendent Catan, Tesseract Vault, like, as your big souped up one, but then come up with, like a Chaos Spawny, like, customizable, another variant of a Catan. Maybe make it an epic hero, but you get to, like, customize it. Do you want it, like, Eldritch, Horror, Cthulhu, Lash'uddra, or do you want it, like, a light on a pillar of flame, the burning one? Like, oh, there's so many options.
Man, multi-kits, you're funny.
I know, I'm thinking too old school about all of this.
Yeah.
Monopose is easy to get good details out of, but it makes me sad at the same time. All right. Anything else you want to contribute to our chit-chat about Catans? Anything else you want to say or remark on?
No, I think we're good. I think we're good.
All right. My final gift to you today, then, is what those afflicted with the Flayer virus begin to hear as they begin to succumb. They hear Llandu'gor's final words in their head. To those who have turned their faces away, to those who are faithless and wretched in their jealousies, to those who have denied us, to those who have denied me, I will wreak vengeance. I will wrench your souls and break your bones. I will cast hunger through your accursed existence. Down the eons you will not forget. I will grant you this gift from love turned aside and make you like me. Break you in my image as you have broken me. I shall cast the fear of myself into you and all of your kind. I am Llandu'gor. I am the hunger. I am the Flayer. And from this moment, you shall be too.
It's kind of menacing.
Imagine you start to feel crazy one day, and then that fucking voice is in your head, of which I imagine it's more like, to those who have turned their faces away. I imagine it's a bit more like that.
For sure.
All right, mate. We'll do flayed ones next.
All right.
I guess.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you, listeners.
Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it.
I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did.
Make sure you get some hobbying in this week. And we'll see you around next week, eh?
Bye now.